Hey guys, Logan with Enduro Engineering. We're going to show you how to fit the skid plate on the KTM 890 adventure bikes for the 2023 models. First, you're going to want to remove these bolts right here. These are T27 Torx. These hold on this plastic piece to the OEM skid plate. So we're going to remove, there's 3 bolts on both sides. You got a bolt down here in the center and then one in the front. Again, it's a T27. Go ahead and remove all 3 of those from both sides before we'll go ahead and then remove the skid plate next. Alright, so we removed the 3 bolts on both sides that hold on these plastic wings. They're still going to be in there. You're not going to be able to pull the wing off yet. You just have the bolts removed. Next, we're going to remove the 4 bolts here in the front. These are 8mm heads, so you can take a ratchet or a T-handle if you can fit it in there. The ratchet fits a little better with the front tire being here. So we're going to remove these 4 bolts in the front, and then there's 2 on the bottom we'll show you next. Alright, so the front 4 bolts are removed. Now we're going to remove the bottom 2 right here. So you're going to want to hold the skid plate up while you do this, and then just crack these loose. And then pull both of these bolts out, and then this is where the skid plate will drop straight down. Alright, so the aluminum part of the skid plate is off. Now we just have these plastic wings. There's a rubber grommet that slides up into a little slot of the gas tank here. Basically, you can just grab the plastic piece and push straight down on it. And you'll feel that grommet right here slide out of this groove. On the right side, you have a vent hose here that you're going to have to remove. So just grab it right here at the hose and pull it towards you, and it pops right out. And now you can pop this off. The left side is going to be the same as the right side, just without the vent, so you can just slide it straight down, get that rubber grommet out of the groove. Alright, so this rubber grommet you're going to want to remove from the plastic piece. There's a bolt underneath. It's an 8mm head, so just take an 8mm socket or T-handle. You can take that bolt right out, and then you're going to need this rubber piece. So you'll set this to the side, you'll use it for the Enduro Engineering skid plate. Okay, so there's 3 bolts here that hold on a bumper on the inside of the skid plate. We're going to reuse that bumper on the Enduro Engineering skid plate, so you can take an 8mm and remove these 3 bolts, so then pull that bumper off of the OEM skid plate. Alright, so now you're going to have 1 bolt here of the foot peg that you're going to need to remove, just so that you can get this spacer out, and then we've got a spacer that's going to go in for the Enduro Engineering skid plate. So this is going to be a T45 Torx. Go ahead and take that right out. And then you're going to have this spacer that you're going to set to the side. You won't need it anymore. Okay, you're going to take one of these provided brackets. They're both the same. You've got 2 of them in the kit. They're both the same. You've got a part number here. You're going to make sure that part number faces inside of the bike. So this little lip on the outside will face towards the outside of the bike. Slide that in the spot you just removed the spacer. Take the same bolt, thread it back through, and then you're going to want to leave it loose for right now. That way when you line the skid plate up, it can move freely to line it up, and then you'll tighten it at the end. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side with the other bracket. Again, just make sure that that part number is facing inward, and repeat it on the opposite side. Alright, so you're going to replace this bumper on the bottom of the skid plate. We took it off of the OEM one, so it's going to get mounted here on the Enduro Engineering skid plate. You're going to take the 3 provided 6x20 button head bolts. You're going to put the bolt through the bottom of the skid plate, through the 3-hole bracket for the bracket, and then tighten them right into the bumper bracket. So you're going to want to get all 3 started before we go through and tighten with a 4mm Allen wrench. So now that I got them all started, you can flip it up, and then take 4mm Allen wrench, tighten all 3 down. Alright, so we're going to take the Enduro Engineering skid plate, we're going to push it right up to the frame of the bike. We found that it's easiest to start with the front, so we're going to take provided 6x20 bolt here. We're going to line up the skid plate with the mounting hole, and then we're going to start it by hand. Okay, so again, we got the first 4 bolts in the front started. So there's going to be 4 in the back here. We've got 2 right down here on the bottom of the skid plate towards the center, and then there's 2 on each end of those brackets that we put in by the foot peg. So take 2 of the provided 6x20 bolts, working our way back. We're gonna go to these center ones. Again, we're just gonna get them started by hand, and then we're gonna work into the 2 on each bracket here, so the 4 more bolts before we tighten everything. So these brackets are loose, so you can adjust them a little bit to get the bolts to line up. Once you do that, then we'll go through and tighten. All right, so we've got all the bolts started. We're gonna start up in the front. So we just go in the same order that you put them in, and we're gonna take 8mm. Again, the socket fits in better here with the front wheel in the way. Just go ahead and tighten all 4 up front, and then again, work your way back, tightening all the bolts all the way to the back brackets. All right, now we're moving back, tightening the middle ones, then we're gonna tighten these brackets. And once we have all of these tightened, this is where we're gonna go in and tighten that T45 here on the bottom of the foot peg. All right, so now all the bottom skid plate bolts are tight. This is where we're gonna go back through, again with the T45. Tighten this bracket bolt. You got this right side one, then you got one on the left side. Make sure you tighten both of them. All right, so this vent piece that you pulled out of the plastic wing of the OEM skid plate, we're gonna fit down in here on the aluminum skid plate. So just reach in there and press through from the top. All right, so the rubber grommet that we pulled out of the slot of the gas tank here, we're gonna replace that by pressing it back into that slot. And then you've got this bracket here, left or right is labeled right on it. So we're on the right side of the bike, so we're gonna go to the right side. You're gonna take a provided 6x25 bolt, go through the bracket, take one of the spacers that's provided in your kit, put it on the bracket there, and then you can go right in to the threads of that rubber grommet. So we can get that in there and started by hand. But again, this is something you're gonna wanna leave loose so that you can adjust it once we get that wing on, and you can move it around. So we'll tighten that after we get the wing on. Okay, so now we're gonna take the wing of the skid plate. Again, this is labeled left or right, right down here. So we're on the right side, we're gonna use the right. This bottom tab here is gonna need a line in the inside of the skid plate, so on top. So you can place it right on top and kind of rock the skid plate into place, lining these front 2 bolts up. Then you're just gonna hold it there, take provided 6x25 bolt, start it on the bottom, get that one started, and then put the 2 up on top. Get all 3 started before you're gonna tighten them. All right, so it's gonna be an 8mm. You can use a T-handle or a socket, and then just tighten all 3. All right, so this tab that you attach to the rubber grommet, I can reach in behind the skid plate here and adjust it with my finger. I can get it lined up right here with this slotted tab. Take a provided button head bolt and thread that in. Get it started, and then you can reach through. We've machined a hole here to reach inside there to tighten that 8mm into the rubber grommet. A short socket's not going to fit in there, so I grabbed a T-handle with a longer socket to it. Tighten that up, and then a 4mm Allen wrench to tighten this. Okay, so that's the right side. You're basically just going to repeat the exact same process on the left side. Alright, so that's how you install the 890 skid plate. It's a little bit more advanced than our standard skid plates because it is such a big bike. So if you do have any questions, as always, you can call us at 517-393-2421 or visit EnduroEng.com.